Data centers are the new hub of activity for enterprises as well as government bodies and PSUs. And as you have seen, the amount of data that grows in data centers and that runs across the enterprises and organizations is going multifold. So it's now into exabytes and petabytes and zettabytes. So of course, then cloud services are also important, and how government organizations going to adopt it, and how their data centers are going to be re-architected or be prepared for those services. So it's important that devices are, they are secure and they have virus protection, etc. But a very critical back-end role is played by data centers when it comes to safeguarding the data residing in data centers. So to look at the associated aspects and discuss the data center security, may I now invite the panelists for this discussion. Mr. Vijay Devnath, he is General Manager, Infrastructure and Security, Center for Railway Information Systems. Mr. Devnath, can you please join me on the stage? Mr. Rama Rao Atluri is Executive Director of IT for Andhra Pradesh Power Generation Corporation Limited. Mr. Atluri, please. Our third panelist is Mr. Digvijay Singh Chudasama. He is Director of Sales for Government and Defense, India and SAARC, Symantec. Mr. Chudasama, please. What do you think is the current state of data centers in India? How prepared they are, in terms of security, and what are the kind of issues that you look at?
Thank you, Sanjay, for giving us this opportunity to be here. To start with, I just want to roll back some events that has happened from last post 31st of March. First event that happened was that Government of India announced that there will be a new role that is being now played by Dr. Gulshan Rai to become a coordinator for cybersecurity for across all the different verticals as well as departments in government as well as defense. So this is a new development that has happened. Second development that happened was the PM announced about 1,000 crores for cybersecurity. Third event that also happened was, the NSA chief of USA publicly mentioning that it was attacked by cybersecurity on platform by Chinese government and defense systems. And while, all these things are happening across the globe, in India, we strongly believe that though we are secured and going forward to make sure that our data centers are secured and we move to the next level. But I would like to ask, everybody here, the panelists as well as the audience here, the three basic things which are currently missing. One is, how aware are we, and can we say that are we under cyber attack? So that means whether the SDCs that we have or data centers that we are, can we stand up and say that I am under attack right now? That's one thing which is completely missing. While data centers are providing services to the citizens as well as it's a service points to the entire public as a mass population. Second area, which again is very important, where is, are we also aware that how much of data is getting leaked? Okay, so this is again a very big concern. And lastly, but not the least, are we aware about what is our security posture at current stage? So are we benchmarking ourselves to a level where we can say, okay, I'm at the right posture of security? So these are the basic three areas, while we continue to spread the applications and data to the citizen by connecting mobility through mobility services as well as to websites as well as through service centers. But these three areas are the basic areas where we need to really look upon and see how we can restrict ourselves and create a better posture for security.
I think those are very good and salient points in the current context of Indian governance, and we would certainly look at them as we go. So I would like to invite Mr. Atluri to share his viewpoints, and what does he think of the current state of data center security, and what are the challenges now we have.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sanjay, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity in saying a few words in this gathering. See, currently, when you look at the data centers and all, we have moved from the governments, especially I'm talking about the government, these things, own data centers to the state data centers or to the common data centers. Now we are slowly moving towards it because, see, first thing is the maintenance of own data centers is a point of high risk. With the context, with the governments having low budgets, have owning their own data security. So try to move to the state data center, rely on the state data centers because the government of India has some policies of setting up the state data center with certain levels of securities. However, it is your responsibility to have your own securities covered. Over and above that, you rely on the government, the policies of the securities and all. You know, if you see recently the incidents of losing the data, making some unwanted transactions, coming to state of Andhra Pradesh, we recently had a very big state transport sector. The online ticketing has gone into a couple of crores of rupees have been swindled out of it. And I mean, like this, if you go, there are a lot of things happening because people are more and more now towards onto the relying on the common platforms for using the services. So coming to the security levels, the policies of the government are being implemented, and we are trying to utilize the common data services with some applications, and the securities at the application levels are very important, which we are trying to do some things. So more, if you look at it, the responsibility of the organization is important to take care of their own data, take care of their services.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Atluri. I would like to now go on to the next panelist, who is from Center for Railway Information System, Mr. Devnath. And we all know that railways, how they have been completely, in terms of services, ticketing, and etc., transformed. So what are your thoughts, and if you can also share some of your experiences from your organization?
Yeah. Good evening, and thanks to Express Technology Sabha and all of you to come here and give me an opportunity to share my thoughts. Actually, we have gathered here to share our concerns with the, some of the vendors and sponsors who want to help us out in our endeavor to have a better infrastructure in place. So I will come straight to the point instead of discussing about what the status is or what we are going to do, etc. The problems we have. I will like to state one thing straight, that we do not look at the information security as the standard CIA. For us, it is the reverse, it is AIC. First of all, we need to ensure that our systems are available, our services are available. Because as you know, the kind of pressures the Indian Railways have on them, we cannot raise the bogey of security and data leakage and blah, blah, blah to stop any service, because our staff will get beaten up in case there is a break in service. So, and then our staff is also large population, 1.4 million of them. So we will have a real problem in hand. So, the confidentiality part, which generally we discuss here, that data leakage prevention and all those solutions, they are quite back of our mind, not in the front.
Depending on your priority, which
priority.
is available.
First priority is to keep the services available and at a reasonable performance. So what I need from the security vendor community is that whatever solutions they come up with, that should be such that it should not impact performance at any point of time. It should neither complicate my infrastructure, that putting up more number of servers just to monitor and just to firewall or just to prevent the attacks, because we take attacks as a part of a business risk, similar to the banks, those who put aside a few part of it as a business risk. So we know that frauds will happen, data leakage will any case happen, because our employee data, employee size is so large that we cannot watch each and every person all the time. So this is the first part, that the availability part, and then they should focus more on simplicity and performance first, not on preventing the data from going out.
Right.
Yeah.
So, in fact, those are very relevant points from a large organization, like railways, who have to be up and running and available. And so, Mr. Chudasama, how do you this is a kind of trade-off, how do you put in place systems or security, applications or whatever you need to do without bringing it down, and how can it be achieved, so that both the objectives are, achieved?
Right. While the point that he mentioned is definitely valid, and in fact, my first point that was that, data center itself is a service point, service point to citizen. So at no point you want to, disrupt the services of the, data center at any moment of time. So I completely agree with his point that availability of applications or database has to be uptime all the time. While your second point that, you need solutions which are, secured, but at the same time should not slow down the performance. I completely agree on that point also. Now, trade-off when we actually see is, it's not that, leakage of data, maybe in your case, might probably not be any use to anybody. What would somebody like to know about, age of a person or in what bogie he's traveling on? Probably that is not the data somebody wants to have. But when we go to critical applications or services which are, centric to important data, very confidential data, then the things are definitely very, very different. Now, my point, if you look at from a trade-off, is that, we want to make sure that as a country, if you remember just 2-3 weeks back, there was an incident that happened, the neighboring country just entered our country and said, this is my territory from today. It was so funny for us to, as a citizen, to understand what can we do about the entire situation. Same thing happens in a data center where we have critical information lying. Somebody enters and sits there. Unfortunately, probably we do not have technologies, or we do not deploy those technologies, or we do not have probably created intelligence which can help us know that are we under attack. So my point of contention is that when you look at a larger portfolio as India as a country, every services, including yours, as you said, you will be getting beaten up by the citizens. If let's suppose a day comes in where some neighbor really wants to disturb the service, then what happens? Because of this, the step now, you have already told in public that if it goes down, I am under attack, physical attack. So somebody would like to do it, actually, and bring you under attack or physical attack. So that's very important for us to understand. Second area is, where today we have, in our data center, our network guy who's providing network services, a guy who's coming in and providing infrastructure services, one guy coming in and providing the application services. Though in your case, probably that data is not so precious or, a kind of informative for somebody to use in the open market. But when you need to look into people who are accessing these data centers or applications, we need to make sure that, it is protected from all the angles. And in today's world, I don't know how many of data centers are here, which I can, quote about, but yes, the first priority, as you said, is availability. Get continuous service that you need to give to citizens, as well as to the, when you say services to citizen, to provide the services, it's your own staff which is providing the services. So if the system is down, it's a wasteful hour for those people who are sitting in front of those, monitors or the, selling points of the service providing. So you need to make sure that all this, service providers or the partners that you choose from, make sure that your all the people that are using this data services or data the database or applications are protected and well preserved on. So from that angle, we need to balance this entire platform.
So, Mr. Atluri, you spoke about each organization becoming more responsible, and even the state data centers becoming more responsible towards security. So, how do you think at what level security, like Mr. Chudasama, has to be addressed at multiple levels? Like there are different guys managing the data center. There is an application layer. There's the architecture of the data center. There's networking. So, how do you think in what is kind of lacking there? Is it the policy? Is it the multiple layer approach, or what is it?
Yeah, I'll come to that. Just let me tell you, as my friend said, the availability is very important than this thing. I'll quote an example in the State Road Transport Authority, which gives the licenses and all in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Couple of days, just imagine, couple of days, the entire servers went down. The reason is not hardware failure. It is somebody like a neighbor coming and sitting there and putting the denial of services. It was difficult at that point because no state road transport authority, they have their own data center. There are people managing that, but unfortunately they couldn't realize that somebody has planted something, external thing, and the denial service. The people are more worried about the other aspects of the.
So that's what he was talking about. Being more aware.
Yes. So that is where So that is where the government. The government's reliability or the government's policies, which will make the security, reliability and services are given. So majority of the state government establishments, be it a public sector, be it a government owned, people are moving to state data center, trying to look at the policies given by the government, and then of course again the cost implication. Each organization spending crores of rupees only on the security part rather than the application part. The other thing is I need to spend a lot of money on my applications. Right. But at the same time, then it will be difficult for us to, put up for the budgets for the security thing. Finance guys are finance guys. Sorry to comment. But people they say, you are spending so much of on this, and you are now coming back to us and saying the security.
So they need to do some more detailed cost-benefit analysis and risk analysis.
When it comes to our organization, we have about 27 power generating stations all over Andhra Pradesh, 11,000 employees altogether. And what is that data people will take from me? That is not important. Right. The finance guys also says that. Now what is that? They will take care. But at the same time, the information which is coming to my management for taking crucial decisions, if it is stopped. If my spare part issue in a power generating station for a critical critical moment, if it is delayed, I'll have a lot of problems. Right. So this type of problems, we try to look at the government and the policies for security reasons. However, at my end, my applications, my servers, the security control over that, we will be taking care of that. But at the same time, the people in the gathering should be also facing the similar problems. And some solutions, some sort of a policy which arises out of this meeting, will definitely help a lot of organizations. So we'd try to, I'm also looking forward for a better
but I think the point you made is, I think I can probably rephrase it and say that organizations may perhaps need to segregate the business critical or very mission critical data and treat it maybe separately compared to, data which people may not benefit much from. Another thing is, I think the issue of, public data and privacy, which is not very much aware, people are not aware, or people don't value what somebody can do with that data. So as online transactions become more, widespread in India, and people will begin to value this data and how this can be misused, whether it is, somebody's power bill can be hijacked by somebody else. And, we already have instances of people getting funny power bills. So that could So this, at this stage, this might be just, some error in the application or whatever. But later on, this can also be part of cyber attacks or, hijacking of personal data. So from that perspective, I would, want to,
from the privacy viewpoint, though I initially said that we do not have much of a private data that way, but you can construe it as from the other side, that some people do not want to share where they are going from to. But right now that information is available if you want to get, so it might be private to certain people or certain individual. So, but right now we are not trying to address those privacy issues. So leave it aside. Some more problems or you can say points I want to raise, which may find common issues with others, is that the vendors, both the infrastructure vendors and the security solution vendors, they are, despite having under the same umbrella or under the same brand, they are not talking in simpler languages. We have challenge from the physical security, that is video surveillance or the access control, up to the level of layer 7 application service security, and then developmental system security and all that. Security into the developmental process. But what I find is the solutions are being given on a very, very piecemeal manner.
Right. So from an organization point of view, you want to make it work smoothly end to end.
From a user point of view, I want to have solutions from physical to the application. But what I find is that somebody addresses this portion, somebody addresses this portion, and then they don't talk to each other.
Right.
And they have separate management consoles which have to be managed by separate people. And technical manpower and right kind of manpower is a very difficult task to manage in a governmental setup, to retain.
Right.
Even if we get it, he or she runs away after getting some experience. So our request will be, as a user side to the vendor community, will be to simplify things. To work across, that means they should be compatible with each other. Second thing, they should be compatible with diverse kind of platforms. Because in government procurement, all of you must be sharing with me that we cannot ensure that all the time I buy from one, two, three, or the one. Right. So every time we have to go, you rightly said, L1. So sometimes somebody is L1, somebody is L1. So our data center is a museum of sort, from 12-year-old systems to modern installed day for yesterday, and all brands. Then the question of operating systems, the databases and everything. So as a large organization of ours, we have everything in there. But that poses the biggest challenge. None of the vendor is coming and able to convince us that this solution will solve all, or not solve, at least monitor all the infrastructure from physical to application layer. Then we will also like to have certain solutions which are virtualization ready, but not to a particular platform.
Right.
We have 3 kinds of virtualization from the big 3. So they should be ready for at least these 3-4 kinds of virtualization, their visibility, and then we can see into the how much protection they can give.
So what you are saying is actually, it makes ample sense, because that is the state of data centers, which not just government organizations, even private organizations are built like that. So these are issues of legacy and integration. So you have this classic dilemma, on the one hand, you want everything to work end to end, integrated everything. At the same time, you don't want vendor lock-in, you don't want to deal with too many people. So, and vendors say that they are moving towards open systems and everything is going to work with everything else. But we are not there yet, right? But we are getting there. So I would like to, ask Mr. Chudasama in terms of his company's experience and how he wants to address that.
I don't want to talk about my company on that line, but yes, Devnathji, first thing is that I can assure you that, your peers are now going to that direction of having a consolidated approach towards security. Now, company like me or anybody in my, peer group, we have a problem here, every time from last 15 years, so when we had selling security to the organization, first we talk about antivirus, and then the tender will come out for antivirus. Okay, the second day the IPS tender will come out, third day the firewall tender will come out. And, in my last 2-3 Tech Sabha, I've been one strong, kind of advocate of, when I say L1, in this industry, L1 has now become the last one. The last one to provide you services, last one to give you the best price, and last one to probably, I don't know what. So, things are now changing. I have seen last 2-3 years that, organizations are now consolidating the entire security requirements. I've also seen very good next level of, RFPs coming with a very strict eligibility criteria stating that, okay, the company should have X, Y, Z things before they should be participating in that tender. And they are also asking for SLA levels of 99.99% on security. Things are changing. And I can assure you one clear thing is that if you, as an organization, bring out a certain kind of RFP which said, I want to have end-to-end security, there are enough consultants, organizations in this country now which can give you complete turnkey around solution attached with an SLA so that you are rest assured that, your everything is protected. While said that, again, as an organization, you are still facing challenges, as you said, about resources. How much knowledge do you have as an individual or an organization to trust the other guy? And that's where when I said, how aware are you about your cybersecurity attacks? That's where you need to bring in intelligence. Now, intelligence are available through various ways. You might deploy so many things, but you can still gather intelligence about what is there. Second thing, you can still create a layer of intelligence of reporting. Like you need to know what is happening and where I am today, and then what I was. And you can keep on checking that continuously. Yeah, so I can assure you, in my last 2-3 meetings that I have been having at very different level of government, where as I said in my initial talk that government is very, very clear on what they want to do in cybersecurity. There are different panels which are set up in a country, and there is a clear mandate that, cybersecurity is the topmost requirement of the, as a India, at India level. And I can assure you that, kind of reports and advisories that will come, not CERT kind of advisories, which is now going to be on a second or third level advisories, which is very, very critical for our critical infrastructure of the country. So looking at two parts of it, one is your consolidation. If you look at, you can do that. And second is if you really have a very strong intelligence coming in from government of India or to a different level, you should be able to consolidate your security on your data centers.
You raised the point of the consolidated RFP. We have something in works which will be coming out. But the point which I was trying to raise was that for a old organization like railways, all the RFPs are always a mixed RFP of a upgrade plus new. So it will never be a completely replacement of existing infrastructure and putting up a new one. There is the challenge that I do not want to work with this one because it's a
Devnathji, sorry to interrupt here, but to everybody and to you, I sometimes feel it very uncomfortable when somebody say, technology refresh or upgrade. I don't know how many of have you upgraded your cars or scooters or vehicles. It is very difficult to do that part of, I don't know, old Maruti now 800, the first car, you put in Michelin tire. I don't know whether it's going to give you a better performance or not. So, you need to take a strong stand and say, okay, I have to change. We can't talk about having upgrades or, patch kind of work where, you have some legacy system and you put in some new, definition inside it and make it happen. I probably am not comfortable. I don't know about how the industry takes it or how the audience takes it, but it's very difficult in that scenario.
So I would like to say, one of the key industry executives were very fond of this thing, like what he mentioned. You don't buy your car, you don't buy separate tires, you don't buy gearbox, you don't buy engine, etc. But unfortunately, that has not been the situation in IT. You have bought it from separate sources, and you have a very fairly large, expensive infrastructure to run, maintain, and then take to the next level. So I think somewhere there has to be some balance between what Mr. Chudasama is saying and the problems of Mr. Devnath, in the sense that you have to realize that you're not going to throw it away immediately, but you are going to do some phased out replacements, or have some strategy